In the 8th row, car number 6 from Jim Boggs from National Park, New Jersey, sponsored by Boggs Auto Rebuilder. And next to Jim, the familiar 23 of Jim Davenport out of Salida, California, sponsored by the Cranbrook Group Incorporated. In row 9, the familiar 82 car of Joe Pratt, visiting us from Reno, Nevada. Next to Joe is the 13 car of Michael Keller out of Napa, California, sponsored by HSE Racing. In row 10, the familiar number 8 of Chris Jackson, down from Vancouver, Washington, sponsored by PT On Call. Starting next to Chris, the 22 car of Jerry Kroll, also down from Vancouver, but Vancouver, BC, sponsored by Sports. And been told we got the 5-minute on the grid now. Starting in row 11, car number 33, the red car of Rich Kinney, down from Reno, Nevada, sponsored by CSR Performance. Starting next to Rich is the 27 car of Paul Goody out of Portland, Oregon, sponsored by ProDrive and Flat Out Racing. In row 12, the 17 car of Jim Murray from Bend, Oregon, sponsored by M&M Racing and ProDrive. Next to Jim is the 41 car of our own Ken Woolley out of Newcastle, California, sponsored by Insta Office Manufacturing Incorporated. In row 13, the new paint job of the 44 car Bob Gardner from Sunnyvale, sponsored by Fast Company Racing. Starting next to Bob, the 48 car of Wes Wilkerson out of Reno, Nevada, sponsored by CSR Performance. In row 14, the number 45 car of Dave Morse, from Redwood City, sponsored by Myriad Research. And next to Dave is the 49 car of Bob Hall from Sacramento, sponsored by Linda and CSR Performance. In the 15th row, the 43 car of Eitan Zidkalov from Woodbury, New Jersey, sponsored by Boggs Auto Rebuilders. Next to Eitan is the 95 car of Court Cardinal from Carson City, Nevada, sponsored by Casino Fandango and HSE Racing. In the 16th row, car number 71 of Jerry Aplas from Granite Bay, California, sponsored by Burl Consulting Group Incorporated. Next to Jerry is the number 12 car of Hank Raymond from South Lake Tahoe, California, sponsored by TahoeAutoRepair.com. In the 17th row is our very own San Francisco region volunteer Seth Reid from Hayward, California, sponsored by M&L Racing. And next to Seth is the 19 car of Randy Snyder from Atherton, California. In the 18th row, car number 88 of Craig Curtis from White Rock, British Columbia. And next to Craig is our own number 4, Frank Valente from Penryn, California, sponsored by Frank Valente Real Estate. In the 19th row, the 77 car of Maury Goldstein will probably not be seen, if I recall correctly, out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And next to where Maury should be is the 04 car of Steve Pulliam from Portland, Oregon, sponsored by Kerry Pulliam. 20th row will be Denny Wright out of Portland, Oregon in the 38 car. And I do believe that Todd Butler down there will be right behind him in the 73 car from Yamhill, Oregon. And we just noticed as the cars went on a course to start their pace lap that Chris Jackson, the number 8 car, instead of being in the 19th position, looks like he probably changed cars to his T car, and because of that he had to start in the back behind Todd Butler. cars come around on the pace lap here at Mazda Raceway at Laguna Seca for the final race of the day. We can see the pace cars' lights are out, so hopefully we'll be taking the green here in just a few seconds. Pulling out into the lead. And as we come into turn 3, looks like Bob's pulled a couple car links, and Alberto Maletti has moved up into the second position, followed by Todd Harris, then Steve Fogg, Mike Boyle, Bill Jordan, Dan Halloran, Bill Booth, and I'm sorry to lose it after that. And going into turn 4, Chris Jackson in the number 8 car looks like he's moved up 4 positions already, trying to get back to that 19th spot. And we have a spin coming out of turn 5, can't identify the car, looks like he continued on. Spin coming out of 5 was the number 2 car of Lee Douglas, but he did continue on after everybody went by. Coming around turn 9, we've got the leaders again. Looks like Bob Breton still in the lead with Alberto Maletti, car length behind, followed by Todd Harris, and then about 5 car lengths back to Jim Fogg and another 5 to Mike Boyle. Looks like coming onto the straightaway, looks like Ed Railton's made a pass on Dan Haller, actually a drag race down the straight. We'll see who comes out on the other side. And on the, looks like Lee Douglas has made up a few positions, passing Frank Valenti on the straightaway here. Looks like Chris Jackson made up probably another 6 or 7 spots there. Off in turn 5, off track out of the race for now. And when Bob Breton had come by start-finish last time, had a like a .795 lead over Alberto. And Lee Douglas continues moving up a little bit. Don't know which spot, but he's made up several more positions after his spin over in turn 5. up the hill, turn 5 to heading to turn 6 is still the same order there, and still about the same distance between the cars. And another interesting note, Chris Jackson and the number 8 car has made it up to 22nd position the last time we went by start finisher. As we pick up the leaders coming around turn 9, still Bob Breton, Umberto Maletti, and Todd Harris, but Umberto looks like he has gotten a little bit closer to Bob Breton this time. Back in the 4th spot, about 20 car lengths back, is Jim Fogg, and in about another 15 car lengths, Mike Boyle, followed by Bill Jordan very closely, and Ed Railton appears to be moving up closely on Bill Jordan at this time. And as the leaders have come by, that lead has shrunk between Bob Breton and Umberto Maletti down to 0.56 seconds. And on the straight here, looks like we have a drag race between Rich Kinney and Wes Wilkerson. Wes Wilkerson tucked in behind Rich, now pulling out, trying to make the pass. Leaders coming into sight here at turn 9. Bob Breton still in the lead. Just a couple car lengths back to Umberto, and Todd Harris not giving any distance to car in front there, Umberto Maletti. Still a substantial lead between Umberto and Jim Fogg. Just came on the straightaway there. It looked like Ed Railton made a very good pass on Bill Jordan coming into the bridge. Can't remember, it looks like he's probably moved up into about the 5th or the 6th position. Looks like they're going to have a good fight for 5th through 8th going on there. And also Lee Douglas, after his spin in turn 5, has made it up to 24th. And looks like Chris Jackson has made it up to 20th from starting in the back. Also, just a point of curiosity there, between Bob Breton and Umberto Maletti holding the difference there between 0.55 between those two cars. Coming back into sight here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, coming into turn 10. Bob looks like he's moved, got a little bit of space again between him and Umberto, and Umberto's got maybe 3 or 4 car lengths back to Todd Harris. Still a substantial lead, though, over the number 4 car of Jim Fogg, and quite a distance back to Mike Boyle. Looks like Mike Boyle's going to be fighting with Ed Railton very shortly, and it looks like Jonathan Allen has moved up there right behind Ed Railton, right in front of Bill Jordan, so this could be an interesting battle. As a matter of fact, Ed Railton is trying to pass Mike Boyle right now at the start-finish line. He's made it. Let's see if he can hold it coming out of 2. See the cars coming out of 2. It looks like Ed has in fact passed Mike Boyle for the number 5 spot. So Mike dropped back into the 6th position. And right on his tail is Jonathan Allen. Right on his tail, Bill Jordan, and followed very shortly by Dan Halloran. Just coming in sight, Jim Fogg probably about 4 seconds behind, and Ed Relton making up some distance. Looks like he'll be threatening Jim here in a couple laps. And we have a very interesting battle now, but looks like 6th to 8th position between John Allen, Mike Boyle, Bill Jordan. Looks like Bill Jordan's trying to take Mike on the inside, going into 11, and Dan Halloran right on his tail, and looks like Bill has in fact taken it. And it looks like coming up on the straightaway now, Dan Halloran is trying to out-drag Mike Boyle, but Mike Boyle is desperately trying to take it back from Bill Jordan this time. So let's see what happens. Turn 3, Jonathan Allen just a few car lengths out front. Looks like Bill Jordan has in fact gotten in front of Mike Boyle, and Mike Boyle is falling back behind Dan Halloran at this point, but they're all staying really close together at this point. Back into view, looks like Bob Breton has pulled out a substantial lead, likely because Umberto and Todd Harris are having their own little battle, which is to Bob's advantage at this point. And coming around turn 9, Ed Relton has made significant inroads on Mr. Fogg, so looks like possibly in the next lap there might be another position change. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, we have Seth with a very good battle going on. Looks like probably between 9th and 12th spot coming into turn 11. And we've now reached the halfway point in this race. Coming around through turn 3, Mr. Todd Harris is right on Umberto, not giving him any quarter there. They're having their nice little battle. And coming through turn 3 now, Ed Relton just 2 car lengths behind Jim Fogg. And coming up the straightaway, Lee Douglas is now past Rich Kinney, furthering his position after his spin there in turn 5. Looks like we had, is that Frank Valetti pulled into the hot pits? We'll see what's going on there. Coming back into view here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, turn 9 going into 10, Bob Breton. Still a good lead over the next 2 cars, and Umberto Moletti and Todd are having a good battle there. And coming around turn 9, Ed Relton still trying to make it up to Mr. Fogg coming into 10. Straightaway, looks like John Allen just went just a little wide, but still managed to keep in front of Bill Jordan. Bill Jordan's got a little bit of lead over Dan Halloran, and Mike Boyle's dropped back a few car lengths. bigger gap, about 20 cars back to Ricky Lee, and then the number 6 car of Jim Boggs and 41 of Ken Woolley. Coming through turn 3 into 4, we've got lap traffic causing a problem there for Mr. Fogg and Ed Railton. We'll see if they can get around him up to turn 5. Meanwhile, going up the hill from turn 5, our leaders, Bob Breton, Umberto Maletti, and Todd Harris. And looks like Bill Booth on the straightaway just past Jerry A-Class there. It looked like Lee Douglas had made it all the way back up to about the 19th spot, 20th spot, right behind Wes Wilkerson after his spin there. And coming onto the straightaway here, we got our leader, Bob Breton, and looks like a little bit smaller of a lead right now, back to Umberto, but Umberto has developed just a little bit more of a lead over Todd Harris. Coming around turn 11 now, Ed Railton looks like he has passed Mr. Fogg. Let's see if he can keep it. Then just a few car backs to Jonathan Allen and about 10 car leaps to Bill Jordan and Dan Howland. And going under the bridge, looks like Mr. Fogg is trying to take back his position from Ed Railton at this time, going into 2. And we have several cars trying to change position. Looks like Mike Keller trying to pass Ken Woolley on the outside while somebody else goes by him on the inside. Into turn 3, we've got Ed Railton in 4th position, followed by Mr. Fogg. The position is, and looks like Lee Douglas has made it past Wes Wilkerson here on the straightaway. And another drag race here between car 57 and Bill Booth passing Rich Kinney. Our leaders here, Bob Breton, Umberto Maletti, and Todd Harris coming in at turn 10. Looks like, again, just a slightly smaller gap between Bob and Umberto. And coming in at turn 10, looks like Ed Railton has made a substantial gap between him and Mr. Fogg. And Mr. Fogg has Jonathan Allen right on his tail going into turn 11. Car 4, just came out of the pits a minute ago, spun coming out of turn 3 with both tires. It's tightened up. It's going to be a race here. Bob Breton with Umberto right on his tail. Todd Harris just slightly farther back, coming around turn 11, and they are going to be catching lap traffic somewhere on the straightaway, hopefully before the turn. And coming across the start-finish line, there is not enough room to put another car between Umberto Maletti and Bob, and actually a little bit less. Looks like Umberto's trying to make himself appear in those mirrors. And also coming across start finish there, Ed Railton's pulled out a substantial lead. And looks like Mike Keller spun in 9, but he's continuing on, just having lost a few positions there. Coming out of turn 3, we've got that lap traffic car. It's about 20 car lengths in front of our leaders, and they are staying quite tight together, so let's see where they catch up. And coming up the straightaway, Mike Keller took back at least one of his positions, passing Frank Valente, but Lee Douglas looks like he's still trying to recover some of his positions, moving up on him. Maletti behind Bob, and Todd looked like he was trying to put his nose inside Umberto coming around 10 there. Let's see what happens. He's right on him. And we got a spin coming out of 2. Can't identify the cars yet. 2 of them, both off and on at the exit. Looks like Todd Butler, and I can't identify the other car. We'll get back to you in just a second. Leaders just came under the bridge, and Bob has used something to his advantage there to pull out a few car lengths in front of 2. And the other car there involved in that turn 2 incident was Randy Snyder. And looks like Jonathan Allen has gotten past Mr. Fogg. Well, it's debatable. We'll see what happens coming out of 2 there. It looks like they're side by side going into it. And it looks like Ed Railton in that back will be catching up to the lack of traffic here in probably the next lap somewhere. And looks like Fogg stayed in front of Jonathan Allen, and Bill Jordan right on his tail. Then several car lengths back to Dan Halloran, and I believe then it's Mike Boyle right behind Dan. And we got another spin right in the middle of 2. Looks like a red car. We'll give you an ID here shortly. And he's continuing on. Looking down at our board here, looks like Chris Jackson has made it all the way up to the 15th position after having started 36th today. And that spin car just a second ago there in turn 2 was Jerry Kroll in the number 22 car. Coming out of turn 3, looks like we have a little battle there between car 57 and I think that's Ricky Lee. And also looks like Ken Woolley may have retired on the inside, or excuse me, the exit of 3 on the right side of the track. Coming on the straightaway, looks like Bob has lost his lead, and it's Umberto Maletti in the lead, followed by Todd Harris and then Bob, so this is going to be interesting last couple of laps. Coming on the straightaway, looks like Ed Railton's passing that lap traffic finally, doing a good job there. And then looks like Jonathan Allen's again trying to pass Mr. Fogg. He is in front of him to this point. Let's see if he can hold it. Mr. Bill Jordan's just waiting behind to see what happens there. Coming out of turn 3, it is a very tight battle there right now between Umberto Maletti and Todd Harris, with Bob hanging back just a few car lengths going into turn 4. And it looks like Jonathan Allen has in fact successfully completed his pass over Mr. Fogg as we're coming through turn 3 at this point. They are now approaching the lap traffic as well. Looking down, last time he went by, Chris Jackson has made it up to 13th position from 36th. Turn 10 at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. We've had another lead change. Looks like Todd Harris has taken advantage of a little miscue with Umberto going off in the back area there. Umberto good 5-6 car lengths behind. Bob Breton just a few car lengths after that, coming on to the and apparently where he did that was the off and on there at turn 5, coming out of 5, just putting his right feet in the dirt. Coming into view here at turn 11, John Mallon got just a little bit out of shape coming on the straightaway, but got a good 4 or 5 car length lead over Mr. Fogg, followed by Bill Jordan being very patient back there, and a pretty substantial gap back to Dan Halloran, followed closely by Mike Boyle, and a few car lengths more out back to Ricky Lee. And coming out of turn 3, looks like Todd has kept his lead over Umberto, and Umberto and Bob are fighting valiantly. And we got a drag race on the straightaway here. Looks like Mike Keller trying to come past the number 17 car, and Lee Douglas. Looks like we almost had a bad spin coming out of the straightaway from Court Cardinal, but he recovered at the last minute. Slowed down just a little bit there. And our leaders are coming into turn 10 right now. Todd Harris still got a good lead over Umberto, and Umberto has a very good lead over Bob Breton at this time as we're coming into 11, and they will be approaching some more slower traffic. Looks like Randy Snyder and Todd Butler, they'll be catching up to them in the next lap or two possibly. Excuse me. And we have the checker flag. Looks like Todd Harris has got this one, followed in second position by Umberto Maletti, and third, Bob Breton. Coming on the straightaway, looks like he'll be able to hold this easily. Ed Railton at fourth, but Jonathan Allen went a little bit wide, so let's see if he can keep it in front of Todd, or Mr. Fogg, as he does as we go on the bridge, followed closely by Bill Jordan. Looks like another little drag on the straightaway here. Looks like Rich Kinney trying to stay in front of Frank Valente, but looks like they'll be able to do that as we come into the bridge here, the checkered flag. And looks like we might have something more interesting here coming into turn 11. We have 3 cars nose to tail. Let's see what happens on the straightaway. Seth Reid trying to take advantage of a little mistake there by Court Cardinal, and it looks like a drag race there.
Rod Simmons for coming up and providing the play-by-play for the festival race, along with both of the Group 6 and Group 16 races for the weekend. Thank you very much, Rod. I want to extend a big thanks to Mike King, to Paul Gilbert, to Nick Winstead, and we send our thoughts to Kathy Reisinger, our spotter and statistician, for quick recovery and a return back before we get to Infineon. I want to thank all of you drivers for coming out for the weekend. Provided great racing for our San Francisco Region Sunoco Championship Series Double Regional 5 and 6, featuring the Spec Racer Ford Festival. Want you to drive carefully home. We'll see you in July at Infineon. I'm Steve Speedy Jaroch. Have yourself a great evening. Good night.